As 2002 was coming to an end, a startling missing persons case captivated the nation. On Christmas Eve, Laci Peterson was reported missing, launching a huge search for the 8-month pregnant woman from Modesto, California.
It was a case filled with twists and turns that unfortunately ended in tragedy. At the center of this highly publicized investigation was her husband, Scott Peterson, who was the prime suspect throughout the case.
All right, we look back at how the news covered this heartbreaking story. We begin in January 2003, 27 days after Laci Peterson was first reported missing. The hunt expanded to the Los Angeles area as the police searched for answers.
Laci Peterson's husband says that he's gone fishing, or he had gone fishing at least. Now he's gone hunting for his missing 8-month pregnant wife. Fox's Jane Yamamoto has the latest on the search for Laci, which has expanded to Los Angeles.
It's important to extend the search area.
Mobbed by the media, 30-year-old Scott Peterson greets volunteers here in the Southland, joining the search to find his missing wife, Laci, who was 8 months pregnant when she vanished on Christmas Eve.
It's been 26 days, and we feel that whoever has her could be anywhere.
Searching for answers in Laci's disappearance, the Peterson family set up a day-long volunteer center in a Westwood hotel, passing out flyers, hoping for her safe return.
She's hurting deeper than any of us could imagine. We just hope that, she's safe and somewhere.
Scott says he last saw her on Christmas Eve when he left to go fishing. The 30-year-old became the center of attention when the investigation focused on his personal life. Allegations of an extramarital affair and reports that he took out a $250,000 life insurance policy on his wife.
And I know my brother has nothing to do with Laci's disappearance. He loves her, we all love her, we want her back, and we want our new baby.
A baby boy, her due date February 10th, the same day this volunteer is expecting her baby. Even though she doesn't know Laci, she says it breaks her heart watching what this family is going through.
The closer I get to my due date, the closer she is to hers, and I'm praying for a safe return for her.
And Joe Peterson says it's taking a toll on his baby brother.
He's lost a lot of weight. He's obviously extremely worried about his wife and his child. He's got good days and bad days.
In February, Scott Peterson began to raise concerns due to his change of behavior noticed by friends and police. Questions started to arise.
Laci Peterson has been missing since Christmas Eve, but the question tonight, where is her husband Scott? Scott Peterson went to Mexico this week for a business conference. Police and Laci's family aren't all that concerned because they knew about the Mexico trip and expect him to come back. But they do have a major problem with 2 other developments this week: that Scott sold Laci's car to do a trade on a truck, and that he's attempting to sell off their house.
Some of the things that he's doing, selling off the car and possibly selling the house, seems to indicate that he might be trying to obtain funding. So I don't know what he needs the money for, but maybe it's for bills or something along that lines, but could be to run, who knows.
Laci's family stopped supporting Scott when they learned he'd been having an affair, and today, for the first time since that revelation, there was a volunteer effort to find Laci. Around 300 people gathered outside Modesto this morning, searching. The family realizes the odds of finding Laci alive might be slim, but they don't give up hope. Laci is due to deliver a baby in just a couple of days. Scott's family is organizing their own search in San Diego for tomorrow. They expect Scott will be there for it.
A breakthrough in the case came in April when medical examiners tried to figure out if the body that washed up in the San Francisco Bay was in fact Laci Peterson.
A medical examiner is trying to figure out tonight if the bodies of a woman and a baby boy are those of a pregnant woman who has been missing since Christmas Eve. Laci Peterson. The bodies washed up in San Francisco Bay in California. Fox reporter Dan Springer is in Modesto right now, where Laci and her husband Scott live. Dan, what have you got for us?
Well, Linda, all the evidence is pointing to this being the body of Laci Peterson and her unborn child found yesterday, but the coroner, even after a 4-hour autopsy late last night, is still unable to confirm that, and so they have called in forensics experts and DNA experts to do further testing. The body of a woman washed up on shore and was discovered yesterday in Richmond, which is on the East Bay side of the San Francisco Bay. Yesterday, 1 day earlier, about a mile away from that location, a different person discovered the body of a nearly full-term fetus. Each was found within 5 miles of the Berkeley Marina significant because that is where Scott Peterson, Laci's husband, said he was fishing all day on Christmas Eve, the day he says she disappeared. When Laci Peterson vanished, she was 7.5 months pregnant with a boy. Police confirmed that the baby found with its umbilical cord still attached was indeed a boy. Scott Peterson has been under a cloud of suspicion from the very beginning. Police have never named him as an official suspect, but they also have never been able to rule him out. They have searched his house numerous times and say that they are keeping close tabs on his whereabouts. We are expecting a news conference here in about an hour and a half at the Modesto Police Department. They have, of course, been on top of this investigation from the very beginning. We are expecting to hear from Laci Peterson's family. They, of course, have been holding out hope that their daughter would be found alive. This, of course, is very bad news for them, but they will be answering questions from the media in about 90 minutes. Linda, John, back to you.
Hey, before you go, Dan, Scott Peterson, has he commented at all about the latest development here?
He has not. In fact, we're not exactly sure of his whereabouts, although the police say they know where he is. They're not letting us know where that location is. His father, who lives down in San Diego, says that he's not down there with them. He is telling the media today that Scott, his son, is up here in the Modesto area, but we have not heard from him yet.
All right, Dan Springer reporting live for us from Modesto, California. Thanks for being with us tonight.
There is some new information to pass along in the Laci Peterson case. Investigators now say they discovered the bodies of Laci and her unborn son weeks before they washed ashore in California. Cops say they found them as early as mid-March using what's called side-scan sonar. However, before police could retrieve them, investigators believe an oil tanker passed by the burial spot and dislodged the bodies. And on Christmas Eve, Scott Peterson allegedly called a friend to make New Year's Eve plans just hours after he reported his wife missing. Police say he did that to establish his alibi.
The new developments in the case turned the focus directly to the husband, Scott Peterson, as suspicion and evidence finally led to his arrest.
New developments in the murder of Laci Peterson. Her husband, Scott, has been charged and is being held without bail in a jail in California. Fox's Anita Vogel is in Modesto right now with the very latest. Anita, what do you know?
Well, we can tell you that yesterday was a very emotional day, but as you just mentioned, it was a day that brought a lot of new developments. Number one, we saw Scott Peterson in court. He pleaded not guilty to 2 counts of murder, and we heard from the family of Laci Peterson. This was a highly anticipated court appearance by Scott Peterson. He was blonde and clean shaven. He walked into the courtroom yesterday. His demeanor seemed calm and unemotional. He pleaded innocent to charges that he murdered his wife and his unborn son. Their bodies washed ashore in the San Francisco Bay just last week, 3 miles from where Scott Peterson said he was fishing on Christmas Eve, the same day that Laci was reported missing. Now, since then, all of the suspicion in this case has focused around Scott Peterson. After his arraignment yesterday, Laci's parents spoke to the media about the loss of their daughter.
No parent should ever have to think about the way their child was murdered. In my mind, I keep hearing Laci say to me, "Mom, please find me and Connor and bring us home. I'm scared. Please don't leave us out here all alone." Laci meant the world to me.
Now, Scott Peterson will remain behind bars here at the Stanislaus County Jail for at least the next couple of days or weeks. He has a bail hearing on May 6th. And I can tell you that the district attorney here in Stanislaus County has yet to decide whether he will seek the death penalty in this case.
Less than a month later, as Scott Peterson continued to maintain his innocence, a woman came forward admitting to having an affair with Scott.
The woman who revealed she was the mistress of Scott Peterson is ready to testify at his murder trial. 28-year-old Amber Frey held a news conference today showing off her new celebrity lawyer, Gloria Allred. She said she was in a relationship with Scott when his pregnant wife, Laci, disappeared, but didn't know he was married. She says she's ready to talk to the court.
I expect that I will be asked to testify in this case, and I am prepared to do so. I don't think it's appropriate to talk about what might be contained in my testimony prior to me being called to the witness stand. Until that time, I just want to lead a normal life and regain my privacy.
Ms. Frey's lawyer says her client has received many offers to sell her story, but wasn't considering them, not wanting to taint her testimony.
As pretrial hearings move forward, the evidence against Scott Peterson began to pile up, including a wiretap and DNA samples.
Prosecutors lay out their case against Scott Peterson at a pretrial hearing in California. He's accused of murdering his wife and their unborn son. Fox's Dan Springer is in Modesto right now, and he has the very latest. Dan.
Rosanna, expect to be a 5-day preliminary hearing for Scott Peterson, and legal experts agree that when this is all over, that he will be forced to stand trial. So what is going on in the courtroom is really aimed at influencing the court of public opinion. Stanislaus County prosecutors arrived at the courthouse carrying bags of evidence. For the first time since Scott Peterson was arrested in April and charged with murdering his wife Laci and their unborn child, prosecutors are able to lay out their case. Their first witness was a DNA expert with the FBI.
They're beginning with what they believe may be their strongest physical evidence, that being the alleged hair of Laci Peterson found in Scott Peterson's boat.
It's a case that grabbed national headlines. A beaming Laci Peterson, just weeks away from becoming a mother, goes missing Christmas Eve from her Modesto, California home. Her husband, Scott, comes under suspicion when it's revealed he was having an affair with Amber Fry at the time. It later comes out that police set up a wiretap on Fry's phone and recorded dozens of conversations between Fry and Peterson. In one, Peterson reportedly told his mistress that he knew who killed his wife. 4 months later, the bodies of Laci and her unborn child washed up along the San Francisco Bay, close to where Scott Peterson says he was fishing when Laci vanished. The county district attorney hasn't said if Amber Fry will testify at the preliminary hearing, but legal experts say since the tape conversations won't be admitted at this phase, it's likely their star witness will take the stand.
Knowing that Mr. Brazelton has told the world months ago that he was looking forward to a preliminary examination because he hoped to open some people's eyes, my money's on she testifies.
But calling Amber Fry as a witness now does carry plenty of risk for the prosecution. She'll no doubt face a withering cross-examination, and if she contradicts herself at the trial, the defense will use that as a way to discredit all of her testimony. But at this point, it appears the defense is fighting an uphill battle. Remember, when they took over the case months ago, Mark Garagos, the lead attorney, said that he would not only show that his client, Scott Peterson, is not guilty, but also find the real killers.
The drama continued to unfold as the judge received not one, but 2 anonymous letters saying the murderer isn't Scott Peterson. And in June, a juror had to be replaced in the case.
The judge in the Laci Peterson case got a letter claiming to know who killed Peterson and her unborn child. Her husband, Scott Peterson, is accused of murdering her back in December of 2002. But the judge in the case says an anonymous letter points the finger at someone else. That letter has been sealed, and because of a gag order, no one is talking. Peterson's lawyers simply say they will investigate. The judge in the Laci Peterson murder case has gotten another mysterious and this time bizarre letter. The writer claims to know who killed the pregnant woman. It is the second letter like this that the judge has gotten in the past week. This one included a hair sample and a fingerprint. The judge said the letter came from out of state and is titled, quote, people who may have been involved. Laci's husband, Scott, is charged with her murder.
New developments in the Laci Peterson trial. A juror caught on tape talking to Laci's brother last week has now been booted. Justin Falconer, the judge dismissed him, saying he's become a distraction in the case. Falconer was replaced by an alternate. The judge denied a defense motion for a mistrial. And by the way, Mr. Falconer believes, from what he heard up to this point, Scott is innocent.
In August, jurors heard from the key witness in the case. Scott Peterson's mistress took the stand for the prosecution to help prove their relationship supports the motive for murder.
Jurors met the other woman in the Laci Peterson case, Scott Peterson's mistress, Amber Fry. She took the stand at his trial. She's considered the prosecution's key witness. Fox reporter Adam Housley is covering the trial. He's in Redwood City, California right now. Adam.
Rosanna, thus far, court observers say that the star witness has been an excellent witness as Amber Fry testifies to the steamy and salacious details of her affair with Scott Peterson. Partially hidden by her lawyer's purse, the prosecution's star witness, Amber Fry, arrives at the Redwood City Courthouse for her first day of testimony against accused murderer Scott Peterson.
She's very brave. She's very courageous to be here today. The reason she's here today is because, in the prosecution's opinion, the relationship with Mr. Peterson supports a motive for murder.
In court, a soft-spoken Amber Frey described a trial of lies told by Scott Peterson. Frey saying the couple slept together on the first 2 dates, and by the second date, Peterson was picking up Amber Frey's daughter from preschool. She also says Peterson told her he lived in Sacramento, had a condo in San Diego, and planned on spending the Christmas holidays in Kennebunkport, Maine. Roughly 4 weeks before the same Christmas holiday, Laci would eventually disappear.
On December 9th, Amber testified that Scott Peterson told her that he had lost his wife, and these will be the first holidays without her.
Charged with murdering his wife and unborn son, Scott Peterson stared at Frey throughout the testimony. His family also sat in the courtroom not far behind and say they feel Amber's testimony will eventually lead to Scott's acquittal.
Another day closer to Scott getting out. Is it going to be rough seeing Amber? No. She's the side circus.
Rosanna, during Amber's testimony, Scott thus far seems relaxed and a bit overconfident. The jury, as you might imagine, enthralled with every word as this case enters its most serious point.
And in November, the case finally came to an end as Scott Peterson was found guilty of first-degree murder of Laci and second-degree murder of his unborn son.
Resolution to a murder case that has gripped the nation for nearly 2 years. Tonight, Scott Peterson stands convicted of both first and second-degree murder in the deaths of his wife Laci and their unborn child.
We, the jury, further find the degree of the murder to be that of the first degree.
Strong reaction to the highly anticipated verdict in the Scott Peterson double murder trial.
First degree, yes.
The mother of Scott Peterson appeared stoic as she left the courthouse. Laci's family, also bound by the gag order, left quickly without any comment. But those in the courtroom described the atmosphere when the verdict was read.
So the most visible, audible reaction in that courtroom was the uncontrollable tears of relief out of Sharon Rocha. And as a former prosecutor, that's what stung out is some sense of relief for her.
The decision came after a tumultuous week of deliberations by a jury that appeared to be unable to overcome its differences. 2 jurors were kicked off the panel in just 2 days. One of them was the jury foreman, raising fears that the headline-grabbing case would end in a mistrial.
When everyone else said that this jury was a train wreck, that it wouldn't reach a verdict, I've said that in California we have survived earthquakes, fires, floods, and mudslides, and that this jury would survive, and it did.
On November 22nd, the case moves into the penalty phase. The very same jury that convicted Scott Peterson of murder must now decide whether he should live or die.
With the trial being over, it became a question of life or death for the jury. Did Scott Peterson deserve the death penalty?
Today is the first full day of discussion for the jurors in Scott Peterson's trial who are making a life or death decision.
Now, they have to determine whether Scott should die or get life in prison for murdering his wife, Laci, and their unborn child. Fox 5 reporter Anita Vogel's been following the trial all along. Anita.
Well, Chris and Lynn, that's exactly right. It's technically day 2 now, and the waiting does continue here in Redwood City as the jury tries to decide whether Scott Peterson should be put to death or spend the rest of his life in prison.
As of today, there's a hearing at 10:30.
Anticipation of a possible decision by the jury has the fervor building outside the courthouse. Today, members of the public lined up early in hopes of getting a spot in the courtroom through the public lottery to hear for themselves what the jury has to say about Scott Peterson.
There's anxiety because everybody is realizing that when this decision is made, it is the final chapter of this case. It's a final chapter of his life in reference to what he's going to be looking forward to, whether it be life without the possibility of parole or in the alternative, the death penalty.
Also today, the court certified the record, making some of the pages of transcripts in this trial official in case of an appeal. Meanwhile, the jury remains hard at work, trying to come up with a unanimous decision about whether Scott Peterson should live or die. One veteran attorney says you can never tell which way a jury is leaning, giving an example of the last death penalty case tried in San Mateo County.
The defendant, disreputable character, bank robber, young female victim who left behind 2 young children. The defendant himself got in front of the jury and said, "I'm the scum of the earth, I deserve to die, please kill me." The result, hung jury.
Now, if the jury recommends a death sentence, the judge has the authority to reduce it to life in prison. But the judge in this case, Alfred DeLucchi, has never done that.
There was drama in the courtroom as a judge sentenced Scott Peterson to die for killing his wife, Laci, and unborn son, Connor. As victims' statements were being read, a shouting match broke out between the families of Scott and Laci. Afterwards, Scott Peterson chose not to speak at his sentencing. He'll be sent to death row at San Quentin Prison.
And that was the news then.